Hi, my name is Dr. Ncube Nkomo, and I'm the CEO of the new loveLife Trust known as loveLife. 2018 was quite an interesting year. It was my first full year as the CEO of loveLife. And it was a year in which I kind of looked at what I've always thought needed to be done in the organization, start to try and introduce some of where I thought we've got gaps. Some of the things that we did, we launched a boy-child program, which we'll chat about later on. We started to tighten our systems around our finances, our internal processes. We started to look at how better to create an environment that enables our people to start becoming high-performing people and thus to build a high-performance culture in the organization. Last year, we took a fundraising strategy to the board. And we've always been aware of the fact that an over-reliance on one funding type is a huge risk in any organization. So we went to the board and we said, in the next 5 years, we need to diversify our funding such that 50% of our funding is coming from government and the other 50% is coming from various other sources. So some of the sources that we're looking at is international development partners like United Nations, World Health Organization, those type of funders. We're looking at foundations coming on board to fund us. I've already talked to corporates, looking at corporates being able to come in and fund us. The biggest highlights for me was that we were able to sign contracts with 2 new corporates. One was the Talcum Foundation, who came on as a funder to an entity that we've created for social entrepreneurship. So we've put together a PTY Limited that is owned by loveLife, and the whole idea is to generate profits through that PTY, which will then support the work that the loveLife Trust does. So with the partnership that we went into with Talcum, it was one where we could kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So they brought into the organization funding that enabled us to capitalize a PTY. And with the intention with the PTY was that it can start selling talcum products into communities and generate commissions from that. And in order to do that, we hired young people to go out because we wanted foot soldiers that will go into communities with talcum products and sell those products. And in return for doing that, they would get a stipend of 2,000 Rand per month, and then they earn commission on the sales that they've made. So we're able to start generating revenues for loveLife, but at the same time empowering a young person with sales skills, sales experience, and then so we've done that, we've piloted it in 2 provinces, in Gauteng and in Mpumalanga, and we've got about 160 young people in both provinces combined. And in the last couple of days, we've been talking to Talcum about identifying the top 30 per province and really upskilling them, because some of those young people are able to make connections of like 30 a day, which is like unheard of. It means this child has got sales in his blood. So we want to then take them to the next level and ultimately get them to a point where they can open their own dealer stores under Talcum. So that's really exciting for me. The second one, again, in partnership with corporates in the Northern Cape. Now, I think nothing happens in the Northern Cape, but it rains corporates that are looking to do work in communities in the Northern Cape. So we had a corporate build a youth center in the Northern Cape in Groblersdorp. Fabulous facility for young people there. It's got a youth center, it's got computer rooms, it's got playing fields, it's solar powered because the corporate that we partnered with is in the solar energy space. Totally good facility for young people to go hang out, be safe, learn new skills, play sport, and just, have something that really recognizes the need for young people to have safe spaces. So I think those were really 2 of the most exciting things that happened in 2018 for loveLife. I think my biggest disappointment last year, quite a couple. I think the biggest one was one where realizing that we don't really as staff buy into some of the things that we are doing for service providers, that lack of alignment. And so it is very important for me to be able to communicate to staff that, when we are saying we're part of a campaign that says, let's keep young girls at school, let's encourage them to get jobs, let's create safe environments, They mustn't fall pregnant. They must know HIV/AIDS. They must not have age-disparate relationships. It's important then that we, as staff, behave accordingly. We can't have situations whereby we preaching that message and we live in something different. So really to emphasize on what's our integrity as an organization and what does it mean for us in our individual capacities. So what we've been trying to get right is the most efficient structure for the work that we do as loveLife, one that can sustain loveLife through the next 3 to 5 years. And so what we've done is to look at our entire organogram, identify areas where there could be duplication of roles, and make sure that one role becomes accountable for whatever should be sitting in that role, instead of having a piece in one and another piece in a different position. So with that, we've been able to try and get a more efficient and lean organization. And ultimately, it has resulted in savings on the salaries bill, on the overheads bill, because when a person is in an organization, you're not just talking about them earning a salary. It's about the other bills that are incurred. It's about communications is used up when a person is in an organization. And especially if you've got a situation where the role of that person is not an efficient one, then they'll work 4 hours in a day because they don't have an 8-hour kind of role to play. And then the other 4 hours they're on the internet, they're chowing your Wi-Fi and so on and so on. So we've been able to just start operating loveLife like a profit-making organization. Because one of the things that I've been constantly trying to get people to understand, that non-profit does not mean you are loss-making. It means you make profits, but you plow them back into the cause that you were created to address. The second disappointment was the uptake where the boy-child program is concerned. With the levels of violence that we see in South Africa, you would have thought that it's almost a no-brainer that if perpetrators of violence are men, then we need to be doing something about those men while they're still boys, so that they don't ever get to a point of being perpetrators of violence. And the uptake on getting funding behind that has really been something that I have found quite disappointing. And the lesson to learn from that, not everybody who, when Walt Disney saw a wetland, could see the big theaters and everything else that is today's Disneyland when he was buying it. So your vision is not that everybody will see it and buy into it until it comes to pass. So that's really the big lesson that I've learned from last year. And one of the things that we are going to be doing in 2019 is to really review our programs and see where we've got gaps that we need to focus on. So one of the goals of the United Nations is 90-90-90. So that means 90% of people who are HIV positive should know their status. And 90% of those who know their status should get onto treatment. And 90% of those who get onto treatment should adhere to treatment so that their viral load gets suppressed. And once it's suppressed, it's not detectable, it's not transmittable. So the biggest problem that we're facing in South Africa with that is that boys and young men and young people are not testing. So it's going to be very important that as much as we've been driving the prevention message, we need to be driving the know your status and get onto treatment message. So that's definitely going to be a focus area for us, for young people to get tested and empower them with the knowledge of, if you come out HIV positive, how then do you live to make sure that you can still have the rest of your life in front of you without being a threat to yourself or threat to your partner. So the programs are pretty much been split into 3 main broad categories. We've got programs that are looking at what we call healthy lifestyles. And that's where we talk to young people around HIV/AIDS, sexual rights and reproductive health. We're talking to them about substance abuse. That's all sitting under the healthy lifestyles pillar. Then we've got sports and active lifestyles, where we want to get them active, we want to get them engaged in sport. Because sport is also going to help them stay out of unhealthy sexual practices because they're bored. Young people will have unprotected sex because they're bored, they've got nothing to do, and there isn't enough time to go and get a condom. Something as simple as that. But if you've got them playing sport, they're just so focused on winning the game, they haven't got time to think about anything else. And it also helps them to kind of see sport as a potential career path. And then the third pillar is the one that we call youth development. Under that pillar is where we train our peer educators who then go out into the communities and implement the programs that we do. We've got our volunteer program, so each peer educator has got between 3 and 5 volunteers that he works with. So they need to be trained to know what they need to do. The things like the talcum initiative fall under youth development, because now we helping these young people get prepared for the workplace, the discipline of getting up in the morning and going to do something, doing it well, and that kind of thing. So those are the programs that we have been doing. And we reach our young people in different ways. There's a lot of face-to-face interaction, but obviously we can't see every single young person that we want to. So we're doing a lot of interaction with them on social media. In fact, we've got a psychosocial contact center. One of the things that we're starting to see a lot of is young people inboxing on our social media for counseling. So instead of calling the call center and speaking to a voice, they're actually preferring to send through a DM and a direct message. And then, the social media team picks up on those and passes them on to the counselors that then attend to those issues. Our reach continues to be national. We have got presence in all provinces. Some provinces we've got multiple sites. And then we also engage with our young people through community radio stations, so they can listen to what we do, the station, in their own language. The future is not our young people, the present is our young people. And if we're going to reap the demographic dividend that comes from having a country that's got a huge population of young people, we need to start investing in order to reap the dividend. So we're looking forward to 2019 and beyond, to forming new partnerships, to celebrating 20 years of loveLife, and to just making the difference in the life of one young person, because it has a ripple effect.
Anything else you would like to add?
Thank you for your time.